I don't like having to talk about this. I just want to have fun in the parks, enjoy the rides, all that good stuff. That's what I want to do. But because this merger is such a mess and all this crap is going on, I don't have a choice but to talk about this. So it has been confirmed that Six Flags America is going to be closing at the end of this season. It says in the news article that I'm looking at that November 2nd will be the final day for Six Flags America. So, I'm just going to say to enthusiasts, this season, get there. And, I wish I could. I got to go there in 2018 for CoasterCon, and I'm very grateful I did. Now I'm on the West Coast, and, due to things outside the coaster community, me going back east is not really an option right now. But anyway, let's talk about the impact of this closure. So the ride that most enthusiasts are upset about is Superman Ride of Steel. And yes, it's very much a ride to be upset about losing. This is a great Intamin hypercoaster. It has 5 airtime hills. It has a great drop. Yes, it does have those meme-worthy sections of straight track and helixes, but you know what? It was their first hypercoaster layout, so you can give them a pass for some of the quirks that it has, and it is a good ride, so it sucks to be losing it. And I hope that there is a park out there that is ambitious enough to relocate a hypercoaster. I don't think in the current era of the Zim Reaper and Six Flags Entertainment Corporation, Anti-Zimmerman Coaster Club assemble, by the way, but I do not think in this era that they will be relocating a hypercoaster to another park. And that absolutely sucks. But you want to know what, to me, is the biggest loss of this? The massacre of the classic Woodies continues. So, within my lifetime, talking about just wooden coasters that were built before the 1970s, so before the era of Six Flags and Taft and Cedar Point and Valley Fair merging to form Cedar Fair, so before the era of, and Marriott, so before the era of any of these companies that all of their parks have wound up in this company, before the era of any of those companies, you've got Screechin' Eagle, Williams Grove Cyclone, Geauga Lake Big Dipper. If you want to count Chippewa Lake Park, you could count that. You've got the Conneaut Blue Streak. You've got the 2 Woodies at Lakemont. And this list is not even complete. These are classic wooden coasters that have been lost within my lifetime. And now it's very likely that we will also have Wild One on this list. And for those unfamiliar with Wild One's history, the coaster that is there today dates back to 1932. It was designed by Herbert Paul Schmeck. So for those of you who might not remember when I went to Joyland, we're talking about a ride that is 32, 42 to 49. So we're talking about a ride that's 17 years older than the coaster that I stuck my head through at Joyland that's been abandoned since 2006. We're talking about a coaster that's 17 years older than that. And some will comment that, hey, I said 1932. If you go to RCDB, it says 1917. Yes, I said 1932 and not 1917 because the way Herbert Schmeck modified John Miller's coaster in 1932, I consider it to be a different coaster. But yes, the footprint of John Miller's coaster was used in designing the Herbert Schmeck coaster. So technically, this coaster goes back to 1917. So to put that in perspective, the original giant coaster that over the years became Wild One, the original giant coaster was closer in age to Leap the Dips than the abandoned coaster that I was sticking my head through is to the modified version of it that is the ride that I consider it to be the same as today. So in this closure, we are losing a hypercoaster. We are losing a classic wooden coaster that has beaten the odds countless times. People talk about how Conneaut Blue Streak had 9 lives, or how the Leap the Dips and Skyliner both had several lives, and now they're standing but not operating. But rides like that have had several lives and beaten the odds countless times, no ride has beaten the odds more than Wild One. And now, in an era where all of the parks are consolidated under one chain that's run by one man who is opposed to transparency in general, and then, because by the way, it's not like the park is saying anything about this, so all of the anti-transparency stuff that went on this past off-season with the ride closures is also going on with this park closure, because the park is not saying anything about it. The park is not saying, hey, come get your last rides at our park in, because this is going to be the last season that our park is open. And also for rides in this park that it sucks to be losing, we've got Batwing, which is the last Vekoma Flying Dutchman, and it's got the parts of the other two to go off of this season. So hopefully they can do everything they can to get Batwing running. So hopefully the park maintenance does everything they can, because when I went in 2018, the one spot of Six Flags America that I had a sour taste in was because I was there for multiple days and Batwing was open for half of one day. So I do have the credit, but there were certain acers that did not get the credit, because yes, I went during CoasterCon, and I think that may influence my opinion of the park. But talking about this from a business perspective, as much as it pains me to say, it does make sense, because in that same region, you've got King's Dominion, Six Flags Great Adventure, and Dorney Park, not too far away from Six Flags America. So of those 4 parks, one of them was gonna go, and it seems Six Flags America is the one that's gonna go. So that sucks. This chain, I'm just gonna say, ultimately what they want to do, because I hate the way they're doing things. Ultimately what they want to do is they want to take out all the big roller coasters, and they want to appeal to families that have more money than they know how to spend and not enough care on what they're spending their money on, and zero care about what they're spending their money on. Because the entertainment industry, because as someone who has worked in the industry of entertainment, here's what I will say. That is their target audience. Families with more money than they know how to spend on things that they don't know how to care what they're spending money on. So they want to take out all the roller coasters and focus on parks like Knott's Berry Farm, if it's not Six Flags Magic Mountain or Cedar Point. If it's not one of those 2 parks, then they want to get rid of the coasters and basically screw you over. So, I guess for coaster enthusiasts, what this is telling me is, like, within the next 10 years, like, I mean, if we want to have any options, the only option is to move overseas. Because, like, I mean, I have little interest in being in a world, and, like, I mean, for Six Flags Magic Mountain and Cedar Point super fans that don't care about coasters at any other parks, by the way, just gonna throw this out there. When you get rid of those coasters from the other parks, what do you think's going to happen to Cedar Point and Six Flags Magic Mountain? I mean, Cedar Point has enough of a problem with crowds. They don't need more, and that's what's going to happen with this, is ultimately those parks are going to get a lot more crowds, because basically all of the coaster enthusiasts, like all of the people who aren't coaster enthusiasts but are adrenaline junkies, like the ones that are like, hey, I want to do the most daring thing I can do, and then they don't really know anything about the industry. They just see that roller coasters are something that gives them that adrenaline rush. Where do you think they're all going? They're all going to your park. So, like, I mean, I say that as someone who Six Flags Magic Mountain is one of my home parks. So I don't want to live in a world where those are the only options for big roller coasters. Like, I mean, you've got that, and I guess you've got Hershend with parks like Kennywood, Adventureland, and Lake Compounce, and you've got your Holiday Worlds and Hershey Parks still. So you've still got some parks out there, but, like, I mean, this is bad. And as much as it makes sense from a business perspective, it shows exactly why all of the alarmists about this merger were spot on when it happened, to say that it's not something we should want to happen. It's something we should be against. And now it seems I'm the biggest alarmist about it. And a lot of the alarmists from when it happened don't seem to care that much anymore, and are actually excited about what they're putting in that spot for some reason. I can't tell why.